Hello everybody, this is going to be a CROSSFADE movie review.
Number 1. This is episode 1.
Or what? I'm Anaji.
And I'm Tyler.
And the first movie we're going to be doing is Death Note.
Netflix's
Death Note remake. So yes, this is a remake of a popular manga and anime series from Japan called Death Note. And they decided to remake it into an American film. And so Ty, I'm going to ask you, man.
Go ahead and ask me, man.
What did you know about Death Note before they made this movie?
I knew it was an anime, and I watched it. Actually, yeah, no, I watched it a couple of days before, because I think I've always, seen it and people talk about it. I've never watched it, but then I was like, I'll watch it in preparation for this Netflix. I was like, I'm not going to watch this Netflix movie until I watch the series. Which, I don't know if that helped if I didn't watch it. But.
I almost wanted you not to, just to see what you thought. I went into this with about as open of a mind as I could. I watched the original anime series about a year ago. So I'm definitely a fan of it. I tried to make sure going into this movie I was as open as possible. So so the basic plot for this movie is basically this teenager named Light finds this mysterious notebook called the Death Note. Ooh. And he figures out that if he writes someone's name in it and he pictures their face, he can choose the way they die. But along with that comes a death god, which is basically a Shinigami, and the Shinigami named Ryuk basically walks him through what this book can do, and then Light decides to become I guess technically it'd be a vigilante, right? That's what that is, when you take justice into your own hands.
Yeah, are you talking about what they attempted to make him be, or just the movie was?
I think even the original, he's technically a vigilante.
Yeah.
That's basically the basic premise of it. So, yeah. You saw this before I did, so what did you think of it, man?
It was really, really difficult not to compare it to the anime. I think that was part of the problem. I was trying really hard not to compare it to the anime. Mm-hmm. And I was actually, because I heard people were super upset by it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, it might not be as bad as people are making it out to be. I'll give it a chance. And then I started watching it, and I think right off the bat, what was the opening of it?
It's by the way, this is going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna talk freely about it. It's the part where it shows the cheerleaders and then at the bench writing. I guess he's doing people's homework.
I think right when it opened up, and then I didn't realize it was the director of The Guest, and what was the other movie he did?
You're Next and Blair Witch Project.
So, now that I think back on it after the fact, I was like, yeah, I mean, he has that thing for 80s music. What is the director's name again?
Adam Wingard.
Yeah, whatever.
I like his name. I like his name.
Adam Windriver. Because he raped this movie.
Oh.
Anyway. So I think right off the bat when the movie opened with that sequence, I wasn't really oh no, here we go.
See, I felt I watched this movie weird because you were watching it already, and I came about halfway through and just watched the rest with you.
Yeah.
And then I went back later and watched the other half, and
it's just you weren't really missing anything.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't really missing anything.
Well,
but
actually, I take that back. That movie the pacing of that movie is so quick. I think when we look back on it, that
my bad. Sorry, go on.
That's TV. I think within the first 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, first 5 minutes, the Death Note drops in front of Light. We have no time to get to know any character just yet.
Yeah.
Which is why it's almost impossible to not compare it to the anime, because they're drawing super heavily they expected that you watched it. Yeah. Where the movie doesn't stand on its own as its own movie. which is already a problem to me.
I do think it kind of, you know what this sort of reminded me of was the the Avatar Last Airbender movie, where they have this story and they're trying to like condense like a whole season's worth of storyline down into about an hour and a half, and it just doesn't translate because it's just like there's so many little nuances and different character things that they need to get across, but they can't really do it. So it just feels rushed and off. Like dynamics aren't set up properly and things aren't planned out accordingly. And
I'm not saying that like if the movie runtime was long. I mean, already the movie was like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, which is
somehow I don't know. That didn't
super short.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. Not saying that making the movie longer would have made it better. I think they could have just done it as a series if they were just going to end up doing that.
I think they needed to do it.
Or as like a mini
series, yeah.
Just like an 8-episode or 8-part thing or something, you know?
That could have probably worked.
For as much money that they spent on making the movie, they could have done that and spread that budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make any sense for...
I think for me that... Okay, let's try this. Because I feel like there's a lot more about this that we did not like.
Yeah.
Let's try to start with stuff we liked. What did you like about this movie?
The look of it, like color grading wise and the cinematography, pretty good. Like I actually like enjoyed it. Oh, except for like the micro
Dutch angles.
Yeah. Like I don't know why, and like I know people, other reviewers, one specifically, I'm not gonna call them out, but like they'll defend that Dutch angle shit. But I'm like, okay, yeah, but it doesn't mean anything if you use it for everything. Like it doesn't have any meaning anymore because you've used it for scenes that didn't need it for some reason.
It feels very much like that video essay that Tony Zhao did where he talks about how David Fincher is very selective about close-ups because close-ups lose their power the more you use them. I feel like Dutch angles are the same way. If you use a Dutch angle like every 5 to 6 shots, it stops losing the like, oh, the world is weird. It's like...
I'm going to say right off the bat, that first intro sequence, there's got to be at least anywhere from 5 to 10 Dutch angles in that first sequence.
Yeah,
which is retarded, you know, like, oh, sorry, mental, whatever.
Which is weird to me because it's like, isn't this supposed to be the part establishing, like, the normal world?
Yeah.
So why are you shooting it with Dutch angles?
Because something's off about this character. If you remember the anime, then it's like, no, I don't. I don't want to, you know.
Honestly, I think that's the only things that I think that's the only things I liked about this movie.
I liked Willem Dafoe.
I liked Willem Dafoe. I'll give them props for Ryu because I guess they actually had a guy in a suit and then they mocapped Willem Dafoe's face. So I liked that. Shea Wiggum tries. He plays Light's dad. He tries, man. He's trying to act.
I love watching that movie and watching like some of the more known actors or the experienced ones are trying real hard to like salvage whatever they can.
Shay's like, shit, you ain't gonna embarrass me. One of the things they won't say in this review is that Shea Wiggum's weak.
And you right, Shea Wiggums.
Because you're not. You're pretty good, Shea Wiggums. You tried. Yeah, okay, now let's just start.
Let's just start ripping
this movie. Okay, so I'm gonna say one of the first things, and this is gonna feel like a sort of like, you watch the anime, that's why I did it. I think the biggest problem that I have with this movie is that like I don't know who wrote the script, but I feel like whoever wrote this script either was compromised by the studio or they did not understand what makes Death Note good.
Didn't Wingard write the script?
I don't think so. I think he might have helped, but I think there was 2 other writers as well. So
he still directed the movie, so I'm gonna blame him.
Oh god.
I'm joking.
But yeah, you harsh dog. But I think because the original Death Note is it's basically a thriller cat and mouse game. It's about this guy with this notebook killing people and this detective that comes in to investigate him, and they both are like pretty evenly matched. So it's this game of wits, of like who can outthink the other one.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what drives like a significant part of the story in the original. And there's also like characterization things that are off. Like I don't like with Light. Like I don't really mind. Like he is a teenager. Like I don't really mind that. But I don't. They did certain things to his character that makes it not. They changed his character a lot. That I think it like throws the story off. Did you feel like that?
Yeah, because in the anime, Light is super cold and calculative. Like he's very like about, I guess, logical. He's he's super cold. So, but that kind of adds to the like how he reacts to having the Death Note and how he deals with using it. You know what I mean? And the movie runs that over somehow.
Yeah, like so,
it just doesn't, because he's not cold.
Yeah,
and like you kind of sympathize with him. It doesn't work the same.
Like they do a thing where they make it, like you said, like Light in the original. Part of the reason why it works is because he's cold, but on the outside, Light is like the perfect teenager. He's like handsome, he's smart, he's outwardly nice. So it makes it when he starts using the Death Note, it kind of makes it where he doesn't really have an excuse once he starts going downhill as like a person, as a human. But the new one that Adam Wingard did, it's like they make him an outcast kid who gets kind of bullied. So it kind of throws, it kind of gives the movie like it kind of almost gives Light like an out in a weird. And
it's like what I was telling you earlier when we were talking about this movie, where in the show I like the distance between me and that character, where you're like, yeah, that character's fucked up. Like, I don't want to relate to him. I don't want him to win kind of deal.
Yeah.
But this movie makes me like, oh, you can sympathize with this character. I want you to connect with him. But then now it makes me feel weird because I don't want to connect with that person that like wants to kill people necessarily, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's like,
because it's a bad thing, and like the Death Note isn't like It isn't a good thing, if that makes any sense. I don't know how to put that differently. That isn't.
And then they did another thing where they changed the story where it seems like, so the original is like a thriller. It seems like Adam Wingard wanted to make it almost like a teen romance movie.
I think he said coming of age.
Like a coming of age teen romance movie where they have it where like Light and Mia are like in this love affair, and they kind of like turn Mia into like a villain.
Yeah, do you want to start talking about that shit?
Yeah, well, this is spoilers. Like, if you're watching this, we're spoiling this shit. So
let's talk about that Misa character, Misa.
So Mia, so in the original anime, there's this character named Misa, right? And so what ends up happening is that Light starts using this Death Note and killing all these criminals, and he starts getting admirers. So this girl named Misa basically figures out who he is and is like, oh, I'll devote myself to you. I'm in love with you, da da da. So he starts using her love for him to manipulate her into helping him with his schemes. So it makes it where, like, it's a pretty consistent thing in the anime where Light is just manipulating everybody he can to win, right? But in the movie, it has it where, like, she's like this cheerleader in his school that he kind of has a thing for, and then they just, like, fall in love. And it's super... It throws it off, though. Like, I'm not really sure why they did that.
And if you want us to explain their love, we can't, because the movie doesn't explain it at all. Like, it just like boom, now they're in love because anime. Yeah,
like she like has like maybe like one interaction with him. He literally like shows her the Death Note.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Kills someone with the Death Note in front of her, and then she just like totally is like cool with it, and I didn't think that was like realistic. Like it just was.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Which again, this happens in about a 5-minute sequence.
Yeah,
like he reveals it. He like and gives all the secrets of this Death Note that he wasn't supposed to. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a whole other thing too. And we'll talk about the rules of the book after.
Yeah, and then it really throws it off because Mia almost takes like almost a bit of a co-starring role a little bit, when really that role should be going to Elle. Elle should be the one, because he's the antagonist of the story, even though he's really the good guy. He's the antagonist to our protagonist, Light, right? But Elle doesn't show up till like how much into the movie? For an hour and 40...
Almost 30-something, 40 minutes in?
Now, for an hour and 45-minute movie, I'm really just going to cut it up into like 3 30-minute chunks. You just spent 1/3 of your story with Elle not there. Actually, you said 45 minutes, right? You said
about 30 to 40 minutes or so, yeah.
30 to 40 minutes. So it's actually even cutting into the second chunk. You've almost gone a chunk and a half without our antagonist showing up, and that's a problem.
And not only that, you had all this time and we didn't learn anything about any of the characters yet, really.
Yeah.
Other than like, I don't know, the simple like, okay, so he lost his mom or something.
Yeah.
But we don't care. Like, there's no. They run over any sort of like connection to any of the characters or anything that's happening.
Yeah, it's just like it. It's really weird. Like it feels like if someone was like recapping a show for you like very quickly.
Yeah.
So they're kind of missing the nuances of the plot. They're just like, oh, you know, and then they're in love, and then this detective comes in and he's like really weird, like eats candy and stuff. And then it's like, but it doesn't. It's not. I'm not feeling the connection of the characters, and it's not really working. Like I'm just kind of like I described it. Like there's a couple movies I've been watching recently where it's like things are happening fast.
Yeah,
I just don't care. Like Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters. That movie moves fairly fast.
Yeah.
I just didn't care. Like, I was just like, whatever.
And, like, part of the thing, too, is like, you watch the anime, right? You like this thing? Cool, it's in this movie. Like, I don't know, that whole, the Ryuk thing with the apple was stupid because they didn't explain that at all. They don't once mention why he does that. And, like, even aside from the anime, if I took it out of the picture, there's, like, this content, like, there's an apple, but, like,
yeah,
they do close-ups on it and shit, but like there's no importance with it at all.
Like it feels, and I'm a big fan of horror, but it feels like Adam Wingard's like instincts as a horror director. I don't think he understood that this is not really like a horror movie. So he's like, it seems like a lot of the marketing and his film direction seems to be like, okay, Ryuk is our most like horror-y thing, so we're just gonna push like, oh, there's like this creepy like demon in the background, and like, oh, he's like eating these apples, and like that's real iconic. Like we'll use that to like sell the movie, but it's like, well, there's like reasons for it though, and that's not really what it's about. Because like, because I remember you were telling me before I saw the movie, you were like, oh, the deaths are really weird in this movie.
Yeah, well, going back to like Light's character about him being cold and stuff. I mean, the heart attack stuff was boring, but that's the point. That's how much he doesn't care about these people. He doesn't care enough to give them any sort of significant death. He just writes their name and gets them a heart attack. Yeah. In this movie, it's like over the top and obnoxious to the point where it's kind of a B-movie-ish thing.
It becomes like
a shitty
like Final Destination.
Yeah, like I don't know. The first kill in the movie is like this decapitation for whatever reason,
and it's super over the top. Like that's when you can feel like Adam Wingard's like B horror movie aesthetic, like sneak. It's like he can't help himself. He's like, I gotta do it over the top practical kill.
Yeah, and I can feel the forcedness of it because it wasn't like, oh my god, that happened. That was more like it made me feel uncomfortable. Like I was like, I don't know, that was like weird to watch that. Yeah, for someone who, and like they didn't give enough to that character for him to deserve that kind of like.
It's like the kid's a bully, but it doesn't mean that like he should get decapitated by a ladder. It like cuts his. It doesn't even just decapitate him. It cuts his head in half.
And then splats all over the fucking ground for some reason.
Yeah, and it's like...
that too, like, it just... The deaths, the way that they were choreographed were stupid, dude. They're just super ridiculously. It was like Final Destination-y. Like,
you know what I think was like one of the worst deaths was like. So they kind of have this part of the plot where like Light's mom got killed by this drunk driver guy, and they never got to persecute him. So Light writes that this guy dies in this restaurant, but they do it with this weird like they shoot it with this weird like sepia filter. And they put like film grain on it, and then it's just like he's like eating like a steak dinner with like a knife, and then a waiter is like, oh, and he like hits him, and it's like, and he's just like
he gets impaled by like this bone thing.
Yeah, and the camera like lingers, and it's like the blood is coming. I was just like,
what?
No.
And then I told you about that too. This is the killer of his mom. This is another sequence that actually happens in maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's it. They never talk about it ever again.
Yeah, it's so...
Like, why? Why did you... I felt like that's a moment specifically that you should have probably put a little more time into, because that's like a pivotal... But fucking... I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like it's just weird. Like it just feels, and it's not even like when I was watching this movie, it wasn't even just like I was comparing it to the original anime, but I was trying to watch it as its own thing, and even as its own thing, I was just like,
it doesn't.
If I were to show someone this as a way to try to get them like into the anime, I don't think it would get them into the anime. Like I think they should be like, oh, this is pretty like generic, and I mean it's not even like this. The idea is cool. It's just like this is pretty like execution. Like it's not very particularly impressive. It's just crazy like how much they like botched this. Like it's kind of weird because now it's making me rethink. Because I was a fan of Adam Wingard's, but I'd only really seen 2 movies of his. I saw You're Next, and I saw The Guest, which are like fun B horror movie things.
And I saw Blair Witch.
But you saw Blair Witch, and you didn't like that.
No.
Did you? Did you see The Guest for the You're Next?
I haven't seen it. Oh, I saw part of You're Next, but I never seen The Guest.
So like, and now it makes me rethink if he... see, it's weird. It's like, I never really thought he was like a great director though. Like I thought Your Next was fun, and I thought The Guest. I think The Guest is really elevated by like Dan Stevens. He's on Legion. He plays Beast in the new Beauty and the Beast remake, and he's just such a strong actor that his performance basically like drives the movie. Don't get me wrong. Like just like with this movie, the cinematography and stuff was really nice, but his performance really like drives the movie forward, and it's making me wonder if like Adam Wingard is like maybe either not as talented as director as I thought he was, or he's good in one specific kind of like space of like B horror moviness, and if he's not in that space, he doesn't really know what to do to a certain extent.
And then he also has a thing, and you'll see it in this movie, is like his grip on these 80s like songs are just so inappropriate, and I don't know why you can't just let that shit go, you know?
Because like, okay, so like in the so like Adam Wingard is definitely part of this wave of horror movie directors who like grew up in the 80s. So that 80s aesthetic has been coming back. So if you've been a big fan of like the indie horror movie scene within the last 4 or 5 years, you've been seeing a lot of like, they use like John Carpenter synth soundtracks. They use that John Carpenter kind of font, which like I like that kind of stuff. But for like, it's distracting in Death Note because it's like, it's not even just like he's picking 80 songs. He's picking 80 songs sometimes that like don't go with the mood of the movie or the scene that's going on.
Like that, there's this climactic scene at the very end that he plays some kind of like 80s ballad song. That it's supposed to be this dramatic death scene, but it becomes this weird, I don't know, soap opera-y, like...
It's like if they're falling, it's like, heaven is too far away. It's like, dude, this is like your big climactic moment.
Why?
It's like weird. It like adds this. It's kind of like it feels like a bad version of this, but it feels like, you know, when you see a movie and they'll have like a serious scene going on, but they'll have like a weird kitschy pop song play, like Quentin Tarantino, like Quentin Tarantino Reservoir Dogs. like stuck in the middle with you, while this serial killer sociopath is like cutting this cop's face. But it works because it's supposed to be like, it's like the
contrast.
The contrast is chilling.
Yeah.
But here it's just like, I think because of what it is too is like, it's not even just like 80s song pop up like every now and then. It's like when he tries to put as many weird 80s songs just like in the movie, which sometimes it's like unrealistic. So there's like one part where they have like a prom. So these kids are supposed to be like 17, 18, and I'm going to just assume that the time is 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure at prom, these kids were not listening to this music. It's just like weird. I don't really know. It's just like he can't. It kind of feels like Zack Snyder with like the like slow motion. It's like he can't help himself.
I need to.
You know, it's like
this is what makes the movie good. Like no,
which is funny because the anime has like a pretty memorable soundtrack. It's like this mix of like orchestral music with like guitar and just like low kind of electronic noises.
And then they know how to like play with the scene, like certain dramatic scenes they'll do like super minimalistic music where there's just maybe like a single like piano noise like kind of deal. Or they don't go like over the top. They know when to like pull back or when to like, so you can focus on the scene.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the movie it like distracts you completely and then you're like, what the
It feels like someone turns on an 80s radio, so it'd be like a scene where it's like, Mia, I'm going to use the death note, and they have a montage, and it's like, ooh, tainted love, ooh, ooh, tainted love. It's just like, okay, like, what?
You know what we should do? We can take that last scene, and we'll just do a bunch of edits, where we just replace it with different 80s songs, and it works the same, like, for every fucking 80s music. Like,
I actually kind of want to do that now.
Can we do, like, the final countdown, throw that shit in there?
Like it kind of like feels like that. It's weird. It's like he can't help himself. It kind of feels like the way maybe not Suicide, maybe Suicide Squad, where it's like,
well, definitely had that like constantly turning the radio into like a, I don't know.
It's like, oh, they're flying on a spirit in the sky. Oh, like what's the song they had in it? It's like, oh, Will Smith is shooting some stuff. I'll turn on some Eminem. Without me, though, let's just...
Yeah, like, that was weird. I was waiting for Smooth Criminal to pop up in the middle of Death Note. That would be fucking... I mean, like, that wouldn't be far off from what you would think.
It wouldn't be, like, good, but it would have been good. Because I love bad horror movies. That'd actually be pretty funny where he's like, let's do it, Mia. I would watch that.
I'll just do a montage of like killing with that.
Yes.
That's so good.
But yeah, like I can't really think of anything else to really say about this movie. It's just
the dialogue's terrible.
Yo,
it is cringe.
What was the thing that you said about the dialogue?
Just exposition, like constantly. There's this one part where literally in the first 10 minutes of this movie, he's talking to the principal, and the principal's like, I guess he got into a fight with a bully. The bully won. And he ends up getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. So the principal's lecturing him. He's like, oh, you know, you can't be doing this thing, because I guess he's been lending his homework to people and doing it because he's smart. Yeah. Whatever that was established, I guess. So the principal is like lecturing him, and he's like, whoa, something about, like, what about the guy who beat me up? Like, you gotta look at the bigger picture. And the principal's like, look, like, I know that your mom died and blah, 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 and your father and stuff. I don't know. He just started like going off about his family and stuff. I'm like, what? Yeah. Why would anybody talk to anybody like that? Doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't...
Like, what was the other scene, like, I think I came in on, where it's just like there's no subtext. It's just literally like the characters, like, just say what they feel. Except for Mia in weird instances where it's like, they never really explain, like, why she's so down with just, like, killing people with this book.
Yeah.
They don't say... I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it might have been, like, some cliche, like, I mean, I would prefer it if she didn't have a cliche reason. But, like, they didn't even give her a reason of, like, maybe she gets abused at home. Maybe something. Just something
Just
happens.
give me something.
Just give me something. Like, they don't even do it. Like, isn't there one line that literally is just, like... It's, like, after him and her have fought, because she wanted to kill his dad, and he was, like, not down for that. she's like waiting on the steps and it's raining. And then he's like, what are you doing here? Like, what, you said all this different stuff. And she's like, I'm a fucking cheerleader. And like, that's all. That's
literally
I was like,
fucking cheerleader.
So cheerleaders are sociopaths? What?
Yeah, then it's like, what?
Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure there's some cheerleaders who are like terrible people. But it's not as if just saying you're a cheerleader is like, oh, I should have known. Like, it's that doesn't work.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
Cheerleaders. I know that archetype. Like,
Right? Like, oh, cheerleaders, sociopaths. I got you. Even cheerleaders are, I'm sure, like terrible people. Probably wouldn't just be like super okay with like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If I write someone's name in this thing, they're gonna die. Okay. That's basically what her character does.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
a lot of characters will do that.
And then now, and now we're gonna bring the scene. If you've seen the reviews that have been coming out, there's one scene in particular that a lot of people have been picking on, and I understand. Okay, my problem with this. So what happens is, Light gets the book, right, and it's the first time that he's seeing the Shinigami Ryuk. So in the anime, Light reacts to it like he because Ryuk's this like giant punk rock S&M leather looking demon thing with red eyes, and it's like, well, at least in the anime he's like 8-9 feet. He's pretty tall, and it's pretty creepy to see that, right? But Light reacts like he falls back and stuff, but then he kind of like does an interesting thing where he kind of goes, "Oh, I was wondering when you were going to show up," and it kind of even like throws Ryuk off a little bit, where he's like, "Huh, okay, that's weird. I expect you to be more scared of me." The Death Note movie decides to like, I guess, play it more like realistic in a certain sense of like, if you saw this, you probably wouldn't just be super chill with it. But Nat Wolff, and I'm going to even blame Adam Wingard because he's the director, he plays it so over the top that it's just like funny.
What did you say he said in the interview or whatever?
So in an interview, Nat Wolff, and I haven't really seen Nat Wolff before. Like I know he's in that Paper Towns movie. I've never seen it before.
He was definitely in that trash can down the street.
You messed up. But he, in an interview, he was like, "Oh, I decided like, should I go with like my manly scream, like my movie scream, or like my real scream?" So he decided to go with his real scream, but like,
that's already a problem if you have to make that choice.
Like I saw kind of what they were trying to do a little bit, but it's like his screams are so high pitched, and I think his acting kind of like doesn't sell it. Like he almost looks like he's like he's kind of smiling in the scene.
He's so cartoony.
And this is another example of Adam Wingard not being able to help himself. So like in the original anime, when Ryuk shows up, he just popped up. He just comes out of the shadows and he has these red glowing eyes, which is pretty creepy. In the movie, it's like he like scares Light like knocks the shelf down because Light's in detention because he got beaten by the bully. He's like in detention. He like knocks his shelf off, and then all these papers just like flying around the room.
The desks too.
And the desk like, and then Light like runs behind the teacher's desk and he ducks down, and then the fucking desk just gets like pulled away from it, and it's like it's so over the top. You're just like, what the hell? Like just like a little bit of restraint, just like restrain. Please, just like a little bit.
For God's sake.
Just something, dude. And it's just...
Stop giving me this action movie. Give me the psycho thriller I want.
If you were going to redo this movie, like, who would you have picked to direct this?
You said Shane Black was kind of there?
Shane Black originally was supposed to direct
David Fincher would have knocked the shit out of
David
this movie.
Fincher.
Oh, God.
You know who's another one? Okay, it's because David Fincher was kind of like an easy one. I think the guy who did 10 Cloverfield Lane might have been able to do a good job. He's pretty good at thrillers.
Yeah, you're right. He would have been. That would have been good.
You know, I think they needed a different director. I don't think Adam Wingard was the right choice. Yeah, so that's
they should have just done. I mean, Netflix. They should have just done the indie route. Just get some not lesser known director and make him debut or something like that. Would have been fine. I'm sure it would have been at least competent.
Yeah.
How long has this been going on for? Because we can keep going.
I honestly don't. Like, I could think of more things to say, but like that's all I really want to say.
Can we just talk about L and that final scene?
Okay, so let's talk about L. So L's kind of in the original series. L is the detective sent in to investigate, and L is really interesting. He's really smart. He has these weird little quirks, like he's always like eating candy. He has certain ways he sits, but there's the eating candy, the way he sits, all has to do with the fact that like he's trying to commit as much like blood and like willpower into like his brain because that's his thing. He's smart. And him and Light's cat game throughout the series is like a big chunk of the story. That's where the big enjoyment of the story comes from. Elle in this is like Lakeith Stanfield. He's a character. He's an actor who's in Atlanta, and he was in Get Out. He's a pretty talented actor. Like I've liked him in most things I've seen him in, and he's almost kind of like Shea Wiggum, where he's trying.
Yeah,
he's trying.
Didn't you say he went methody for a little bit too?
That's what I heard. But he's trying, but the dialogue's just so bad, and they just don't
understand the character.
They just don't do a good job of like portraying him or the relationship he has with Light. Like I think he only really has like 2 scenes with Light, like the whole movie,
like an actual like conversation kind of deal.
Yeah,
maybe 2.
That's one of the only times the movie started getting a little good is when he confronts Light at the diner. It like kind of reminded me, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like Death Note, and then it just goofs itself, like,
which is weird too. The continuity in this thing's fucking all over the place too. Like they don't know how to stay consistent with their story. I think that's the part where like Light literally pulls down his mask and shows Light his face, even though and shows Light his face, which you already had some suspicion that he might have some way of killing you. Why did you show your face? You're supposed to be smart, right? Like, I don't know. And then, I guess I'm going to say it's another thing he couldn't help himself with. There is another about way too long, a 5 to 6 minute sequence of them chasing each other.
Yeah, a chase.
Because that happened in the anime. You know, it's supposed to be this smart, like, battle of wits kind of thing, and like someone who knows who's a step ahead of the other person, but this one is like, and then he chases him because L fucking loses his shit somehow, even though in it's just this movie is a misstep. Like I don't know if they're getting a sequel to this, but like if they do get one. This movie also had the last Airbender thing where they had the nerve to fucking think that they're gonna have a sequel of like
yeah.
I was like, no.
I honestly can't even think of anything else to say about this movie. It's like
I'm done with this.
I'm just gonna say it. I would only recommend this if you had like a weird curiosity just to see like what it is. Because this to me is almost on like, it's not quite a Suicide Squad level, but it's like an interesting mess to watch. I'll say that. What about you?
Yeah. Alright, do we have a rating system for this? Are we doing a rating system?
Just like if you recommend it or whatever. We'll
I'd recommend it for the same reason I watched it, was to know. To know exactly how far gone this movie had gone. So, and it went past where I thought it was going to go, and it kept on going.
Yeah.
The movie's literally, like, if I could sum it up, I don't know, you know, like the resolution and climax shit, whatever. Yeah, it's literally like this down slope. It starts down in the middle somewhere and just keeps going down, and then it goes even lower and keeps on going. It doesn't stop. And then that's where, what is his name? What's the actor's name?
The Nat Wolf?
Yeah, that's where Nat Wolf lives, right at the bottom.
Oh, God. Okay, so, thanks for watching this. This is our new YouTube channel, CROSSFADE. Make sure to subscribe and like this if you'd like to review, and leave some comments down below, and we'll get back to you. Man, that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, if you guys got any other movies that you want us to review, we're probably going to do It next.
Yeah, we're going to definitely do It.
And then maybe eventually we're going to expound on the channel and see what else we can do with this, but review sounds like the way to go for now.
So, I'm Naji.
I'm Tyler.
And we'll see you guys later.
CrossFade.